After firing powerful ballistic missiles, North Korea has now tested rocket launchers that can carry nuclear weapons. During a military practice drill, 600mm super-accurate multiple rocket launchers were used. The rockets hit an island target. In the East Sea of Korea, more than 360 kilometers away, North Korea calls the Nuclear-Capable Multiple Rocket Launcher, or MRL, a top-of-the-line weapon system. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and his daughter Ju-ae, who many believe will be the next leader of the country, watched over the drill. North Korea's state news channel, the Korean Central News Agency, or KCNA, said a long-range artillery unit of the Korean People's Army in the western area carried out a firepower strike drill using 12V600mm ultra-precision, multiple rocket launchers, and 2 artillery companies. Kim Jong-un said the drill would make North Korea's enemies within 420 kilometers feel very uneasy and would help them understand just how destructive a tactical nuclear weapon can be. KCNA also reported that he called the MRL a very deadly, but impressive weapon. The test came just one day after North Korea fired about 10 unidentified ballistic missiles into the sea. Japan's Coast Guard said the missiles landed in the sea outside Japan's special ocean boundary. On March 11th, North Korea also test-fired a cruise missile from a warship called the Cho Haeyeon. These missile tests are happening at the same time as the yearly military drills by South Korea and the United States called Freedom Shield, which started on March 9th and will go on until March 19th. Both countries say the joint drills are only for defense, meant to check how ready they are against military threats from North Korea. Keep in mind, the U.S. military has about 28,500 soldiers and several fighter jet groups stationed in South Korea. North Korea often criticizes these drills, calling them practice runs for a possible military attack by the allied countries. Meanwhile, South Korea's presidential office condemned the launches as a provocation that breaks United Nations Security Council rules and urged North Korea to stop such actions right away. On Saturday, North Korea fired about 10 ballistic missiles toward the Eastern Sea, South Korea's military said, putting on its own show of strength while rival South Korea carries out a joint military exercise with the United States. South Korea's joint military chiefs said the missiles were launched from an area near Pyongyang's international airport and traveled about 350 kilometers, or 220 miles. Japanese Defense Minister Shinjiro Koizumi said the weapons landed outside Japan's special ocean boundary and that there were no reports of any damage to planes or ships. Good afternoon. Around 1:24 p.m. today, North Korea launched what looks like a ballistic missile. It has already landed and the impact point is outside our country's special ocean boundary. More details are currently being carefully studied. The Prime Minister has given orders to work as hard as possible to gather and study information, to share clear and quick updates with the public, to make sure all planes and ships are safe, and to stay fully prepared for any unexpected situations. As of now, we have no reports of damage to any of our country's planes or ships. We will keep working to gather more information. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff said the military has increased its monitoring and is staying ready in case of more launches while sharing information closely with the U.S. and Japan. The launches happened while the U.S. and South Korean militaries were holding their yearly spring exercises with thousands of troops, and while the Trump administration was also fighting a growing war in the Middle East. The war has raised worries about possible security gaps in South Korea, as local news reports using security camera footage and other images have suggested that the U.S. may be moving some of its missile defense equipment from South Korea to support operations against Iran. When the Associated Press asked this week whether U.S. forces in Korea were moving interceptor missiles from its Terminal High Altitude Area Defense, or THAAD, system in Sangju to the Middle East, South Korean President Lee Jae-myung's office said it could not confirm details about U.S. military operations. The office said that moving U.S. military equipment would not weaken the Allies' defense against nuclear-armed North Korea, and also pointed to South Korea's own strong military forces. Earlier, it gave a similar response to reports about the possible relocation of Patriot missile defense systems out of South Korea. The launches came just hours after South Korean Prime Minister Kim Min-suk, Seoul's second-highest official after President Lee, met with U.S. President Donald Trump in Washington and expressed hope for new talks between Washington and Pyongyang. President Lee wants to improve relations between North and South Korea, and some of his top officials have said that Trump's planned visit to China starting March 31st may create a chance to open talks with North Korea. But Saturday's launches seem to crush those hopes, showing that North Korea is pushing back. In recent months, Pyongyang has taken a tougher position toward Seoul and has pushed Washington to drop its demand for North Korea to give up its nuclear weapons before any talks can begin. North Korea has long called the Allies' drills practice, runs for an invasion, and often uses them as an excuse to increase its own military shows or weapons tests. In past years, North Korea has fired many rounds of missiles and artillery at once, calling them practice runs for nuclear attacks on targets in South Korea. Kim Jong-un's powerful sister on Tuesday criticized Washington and South Korea for going ahead with their drills at a very dangerous time for world security and warned that any threat to North Korea's safety would bring very serious consequences. Without directly mentioning the war in Iran, Kim Yo-jong said the U.S.-South Korean drills are hurting regional stability at a time when the world's security system is falling apart quickly and wars are breaking out in different parts of the world because of the reckless actions of dangerous international troublemakers. North Korea's foreign ministry has also released separate statements condemning the joint U.S.-Israeli attacks on Iran and showing support for Tehran's new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei. Kim Jong-un has made Russia his top foreign policy priority, sending thousands of troops and large amounts of military equipment to support Russia's war in Ukraine, possibly in exchange for aid and military technology.